right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. State of the Nation discussion begins right now. My guest already in studio, Dr. Boni Halwale, Kakamega Senator. Asante for making time. Edwin Sifuna is here, Senator for Nairobi. Thank you so much for making time. And Charles Owino, former police spokesperson, and now UDA coordinator, Siaya. Thank you for making time. Let's take a look at the Daily's front page. No longer at ease, trouble in paradise. There's a quote here over the weekend, over the last week actually. So for CS, Moses Kuria has had a bit of turmoil online and on TV as well. But there's a quote here on the Standard where he says that I have since been advised by people like Dr. Halwale and his master that the statement was incorrect, insensitive, and arrogant. Dr. Halwale, what was your advice to CS Kuria? And do you still maintain your position that he should be fired?
No, you can even see, although I'm familiar with that quote,
yeah,
the moment you start reading it, I break into laughter because it is laughable. Granted that Kuria is not somebody who is new to the political terrain in this country, but he knows some of us. He knows very well that I have demonstrated over a long time that I'm an independent-minded leader in this country and that I cannot be remote controlled. So he should find his refuge elsewhere. I refuse to respond to social media. I refuse to go into an exchange with him because I was speaking as an elected senator, and over and above that, I am the leader of I'm one of the leaders in the Senate as the leader of the majority, as the chief whip on the majority side. So I cannot take it lightly. He must know that even when you are where I am, you still have constitutional responsibilities, which in my case include the oversight. You don't throw away your oversight responsibility because you have an appointive office. You don't throw it away because you are a friend of a minister. You must always remember that the people have taken you into that office for a reason. The president has appointed you for a reason, and therefore you discharge. It should not be lost to him that we still reserve the right to invite him to Parliament, up to and including censoring him. So he should go easy, do his job, apologize to Kenyans. We were never elected as Kenya Kwanza to insult Kenyans. We were never elected by Kenyans to show them the middle finger. We were elected so as to make a difference. And when the going gets rough, the way it is now, let us leave it to Sifuna and his team to do the kind of theatrics that they are doing while we work. And that's exactly what we are doing.
But he has apologized now. Is that enough? Because he says, and I quote here, that I have since been advised by people like Dr. Boni Halwale and his master, who will tell us who your master is, that the statement was incorrect, insensitive, and arrogant. I'm made to now understand that the price will come down. I apologize profusely, since to err is human.
Yes, I have never read about where he went to school. But assuming that he went to a good school like some of us, and then he was writing in English, and every tone of that particular tweet is nothing but sarcasm. There was no apology there. When you say people like, that is the beginning of sarcasm. His masters, that is further sarcasm. And going further, that they have assured me that the prices will go down, is further sarcasm. We are not fortune tellers to know what will happen to the prices of oil. When he tells people to go and drill oil wells, either in their homes or in their villages, that is a kind of arrogance. We will not keep quiet. And I do not have to be advised by anybody for me to be unhappy with those kind of remarks. Man, we sweated, and you saw it on footage here. We were tear-gassed. We were beaten up by the police to form this government. Having formed the government, the people who failed to win seats the president then sympathized with them and appointed them as ministers. We gave them that opportunity. They owe it to us that they are in that office. And therefore, they should be grateful that we did our part of the work. It doesn't mean that the people who are outside cabinet are incompetent. And it doesn't mean that the people who are in cabinet are the best.
So is this apology?
There are many other Kenyans who can do the jobs we are doing today.
So is this apology acceptable or not?
I don't know who he was apologizing for. If it includes me, then until I read an apology from him, is when I would make a decision whether to accept or not. But that is not an apology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sifuna, there's a big difference between saying the truth and being arrogant. And I don't want to put this into personality issues, but when you look at even the statement that was made by the the advisor to the president on economy, he said, we do what we think can work. If it doesn't, too bad. I don't believe politicians and I don't trust the government. If you do either, you're a sucker. That's from David Ndii. Are they simply just being honest, or are they being arrogant?
Yeah, I want to start by, today is almost to the day, the 10th anniversary of the terrorist attack at the Westgate Mall here in Nairobi. And I want to continue to, commiserate with the victims of that heinous attack. Just a day before yesterday, Khalwale, we had a conversation in the Senate about the ongoing terror attacks in Lamu. And whilst it might appear that Boni Forest or Garissa or Mandera is very far off, and maybe people are not paying attention, we would want to remind the government to remain eternally vigilant, because this is a threat that remains with us, and we would not want to see a repeat of Westgate or Dusit here in Nairobi. To the question that you have asked, the way that people in power relate to the ordinary mwananchi will tell you whether those people owe their offices to the people or to some other forces. Because if you know for a fact that you are elected by the people and that your mandate draws directly from them, and that they have a way of affecting your continued stay in that office, then you will not speak to them the way David Ndii, the way Moses Kuria speaks to the public. Because this is the clearest evidence we have that, in fact, these people's mandate does not draw from the people. They know that they can talk as much, as badly as they want, but at the end of the day, they will be helped by people like Jose Camargo to win the elections again. If you don't owe allegiance directly to the people, if your mandate does not stem from them, then it shows you that it doesn't matter what you do to these people. They are not going to affect your continued stay in office. Now, that tweet that you have referenced from Moses Kuria, I agree with Senator Khalwale. That's not an apology. Nobody in this country read that as an apology. And Trevor, you shouldn't consider that as an apology, because he says he went to the good school, to some good schools. Fortunately for me, I went to the same school as him.
Yes.
And we can tell sarcasm from a mile. We know for a fact that that was not an apology. And the biggest problem we have is that, and I spoke, I said this to David Ndii, that Wanjiku has 4 problems with the way that they are talking to them. Number one, it is not David Ndii who was going around the country selling those lies that he is now saying, oh, you people are suckers, you believed these politicians. The Wanjiku wants the same person who was standing on top of the sunroof and saying, we are going to form a government of Mamamboga, a government of border people. Ruto never mentioned the IMF as a key shareholder of their government. Nowhere did they mention that IMF is going to be part of our government. Yeah. Number two, the tone that was employed at the election is not the current tone. You know, it's like when you are wooing a woman to marry her, and you have all these sweet little nothings that you whisper in her ear. And then when she comes and moves into your house, anakuta ground me different. Every single day, you insult her, you beat her, you deny her food, but she can't go anywhere because you've already made her pregnant. You know, that is very, very wrong. This is exactly how the Kenya Kwanza government is treating mwananchi. People want the same face, the same tongue, and the same tone. Number three, it is a constitutional imperative under Article 73. Somebody who's assigned any authority as a state officer, and David Ndii is a state officer, that under 73(1), you exercise that public trust in a manner that demonstrates respect for the people. You demonstrate respect for the people. You know that these people are the ones, first of all, who pay your salary. Number two, if it were not for them, you would not be in that position. So if you see, as I've said, the clearest evidence we have ever gotten, that in fact, these guys know that even in 2027, it will not be up to the people. It is not your ballot. It is not your vote that puts them in office. It is something else. That is why they can talk to you the way that they talk to the people. And you can juxtapose the way they are talking to the people to when they are, hanging out with their friends from the West. Yeah. You would never hear William Ruto speaking to Meg Whitman, their new BFF, the way that they talk to Mwananchi. Because those are the shareholders of the Kenya Kwanza government. It is the governments in the West that put them in that office, So they talk to them very nicely. When they are gallivanting in Western capitals, meeting Zelensky, meeting whoever it is, they don't talk to them the way they talk to the Mwananchi. Because in the hierarchy of people of importance in the Kenya Kwanza government, first there is Kamago, then there is Meg Whitman, then the other people from the West. You, the Mamamboga and the border person, huku chini, it doesn't matter what you say.
Okay. But, Charles, are they being honest or are they being arrogant? You've been a state officer for quite some time. You understand the language that people use when you're speaking to the populace. Is this arrogance or honesty?
First of all, my brother Sifuna said that the vote does not matter and that some of these people are looking at, they don't care. But the two gentlemen that have had their names discussed, the economic advisor and the minister, I don't think they were elected anywhere. So we cannot relate to them and say that because the people did not, it doesn't matter whether you win an election genuinely or not. I think that is what Sifuna is trying to bring forward, that they don't care because they did not win fairly. These guys never won any election in the first place. But basically, even in systems, even in government, even in cabinet, people always speak with one voice. Yeah. Where sometimes you find when a decision is made in cabinet, even when you dissent to that decision, when you come out, you speak the same language that has been agreed on the same facts that what has been agreed on. And if you cannot use the same language of the cabinet, then what happens is that you must just resign from that government, because government speaks with one language. And most importantly, if there is arrogance in the way you speak, because this is a democracy. It's a government by the people, for the people, and you must be answerable to the people. And if by chance you find yourself in a position where you are deemed to be arrogant and therefore not speaking the language that is expected of you, especially during these hard times that we are facing as a nation because of various factors, then most likely what happens is that you may be forced to leave office. So the only challenge is that it is the prerogative of the head of state to make that decision. So he will look at the position as it is and make a decision whether his officers are supposed to continue being in office or leave office. But what happens is, if you maintain them, unfortunately, and the public comes out strongly that they are against what they are talking about, then the implication is seen mostly at the ballot at the end of your term, because this is a democracy for the people, by the people. Even when Sifuna is still whining on the loss of the elections, but he won his seat. So at that particular time, you will, if you don't manage some of these things, it can be a problem. Okay. But what we can say is that what we have seen is not very favorable. Yeah. It's not supposed to come from those kind of offices. And the consequence is clear. Okay. And I think it's just a matter of time.
What is the consequence?
The consequence is you lose your job, you lose your seat.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that still your position?
Trevor. Trevor.
Yeah.
This is not politics.
Yeah.
The way the CS wants to make Kenyans to believe. Yeah. If you go by the headline in The Nation today, it's not politics.
Yeah.
What he did is unconstitutional. Because as Sifuna has told you, he was referring to chapter 1. To the preamble of the Constitution. But if you go to chapter 6 on leadership and integrity, Moses Kuria ought to know that he is a public officer. And a state officer, allow me to read, is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that, one, is consistent with the purposes of the objective of this Constitution, demonstrates respect for the people, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and promotes public confidence in the integrity of that office. David Ndii and Moses Kuria have fallen short of all those 4 provisions of the Constitution in chapter 6. So we are reminding them that they are not a gift to the nation, where we should sit and say, God so loved us so much that he gave us Moses Kuria, that whoever goes against him shall not see the kingdom of heaven. No. They are not God-given. They are just children of this country like all of us. And we are saying, if they do not want to abide by the provisions of the Constitution, then let their talents be tested elsewhere. Other Kenyans can have a go at sitting in that office. I have no intention of being a cabinet secretary in the next 4 years, and therefore I'm just exercising my oversight role. I am agreeing with Sifuna again and again on this one, but Owino has said something which he is speaking to us through a sly way. He's warning us, if we do not do quick housekeeping, we might face the consequences after 4 years. Very good advice. He's not being malicious.
So what should be the remedy? The remedy that I'm waiting for.
There are a few problems, Khalwale. Moses Kuria is not new to public discourse in this country. By the time he was being appointed, Moses Kuria was a poster child of ethnic contempt in this country. I do not think there's anybody in this country who's been charged more times than Moses Kuria for ethnic contempt, especially some of the things that he has said about communities from Western Kenya and the Luos in particular. Whereas I acknowledge that no convictions have come out of those cases, it is something that is widely acknowledged that this is somebody who has a loose tongue and who should have never even been considered in the first place to be a cabinet secretary in this country. The problem is with the appointing authority, and I will demonstrate to you that even at the point of approval, Khalwale, you said nothing. You kept quiet. You knew this was coming because we all know these people and who they are. Now, there is no way, if you put you and me, we keep chicken. When you want chicks, when you are selecting the eggs to put in the chicken so that you get chicks, if you take an egg that is already rotten, Khalwale, it doesn't matter how warm that chicken is. There is no chick that is going to come in. You get a bad egg in, after 21 days, you will still get a bad egg. That is Moses Kuria for you. This is not the first time, for instance, when David Ndii is speaking in the tone and language that he's speaking to the people. It happened a few months ago, and the president, while addressing a conference here, I think it was a conference of women at KICC, he singled David Ndii out for praise, said this is the guy now who knows what he's doing, you know. And the problem with all these people is that, in fact, the greatest point that we should not lose is what they are telling us, what they are confirming, is that this is a Pata Potea government, that it's trial and error, that they don't know what they are doing. We want the same confidence. When you were standing up speaking to Kenyans during the campaign, saying you know how to fix the price of fuel, where is that bravado? Where is that confidence? You know, it is a crime. Obtaining anything by false pretenses, obtaining the office of head of state by pretending you know what you're going to do in order to assuage the lives of Kenyans. If you look at the papers here, they told us that we should wait for the price of unga to come down after the harvest. The farmers are telling us a different story, Khalwale. And you know, here in Nairobi, we don't grow food. We were told that while we are in the streets, you people are busy in the farms. The farmers are telling you that because of the cost of
Standard
diesel,
page 6.
Yes, standard. It's not page 6. I saw it somewhere here. I don't want to be accused of saying my own things. That because of the price of diesel,
Yes.
we are not going to enjoy any reprieve in the prices of fuel. prices of food.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been saying, that in fact, when you see even CS Davis Chirchir saying that, oh, for the price of fuel, there's nothing that we can do. It is not true, Khalwale. We were with you on this show when we were saying that please leave the VAT at the 8% that it was. Don't push it to 16%. Your members of parliament insisted on pushing it to 16%. That 8% variance is responsible for 14 shillings alone. That 8% alone is responsible for 14 shillings on a litre of petrol, on a litre of diesel, on a litre of kerosene. You and me, Khalwale, because God has blessed us, we are now in leadership positions. We don't use kerosene. But we remember we used to be poor. Because I know you were not born in privilege. I wasn't born in privilege. We used to use kerosene. If you raise the price of kerosene by 33 shillings, you're not punishing the senators in Nairobi. You're not punishing Khalwale or Sifuna. You are punishing the people at the very bottom of the pyramid. Yeah. So what we are saying is this, Trevor. The problem is the appointing authority. I would not be surprised. These friends of mine in UDA are expecting that when Ruto comes back, he will fire David Ndii and CS Moses Kuria. I would not be surprised if, in fact, he comes and even praises them even more, the way he did the last time that David Ndii was out of tone. So, for us, please help the people. Help the people. We can fight our politics here and there, but if an economic advisor is there and is telling us, even this is pata potea, the patient might still die. We don't know what we are doing. We are trying this, we are trying that, but we don't know what we are doing. Yeah. It is the most unfortunate thing to come from somebody in that office. Okay,
When is that your reading as well, that the government doesn't seem to know what it's doing? Because if the economic advisor himself, and that was actually what he said that we do what we can, but we don't know what the outcome will be. Even the best doctors lose patience.
Number one, I still want to remind Sifuna that he's still poor. It's not become wealthy by being...
Oh, but I don't use kerosene.
No.
That's the
just
point
listen
that I was
to my
making.
analogy.
That's the point that I was making.
My analogy is not that personally you may not afford, but you'll find people around you, your relatives, your very close relatives, your villagers are still very poor. And even what you have, you cannot share with them. So that is why we should still focus and ensure that the economy becomes vibrant and we make more money as a nation with time. And what you are saying about the two, I cannot say the executive or the president maybe has lost focus. Remember at the time when they were forming government, these are political positions. And it's just 1 year since we formed government. You know, sometimes you can be given a rope to hang yourself. So that you don't go saying, oh, I worked so hard, I helped this government to be in place, I've not been considered. You can be considered, but it can be a rope to hang yourself. So I think the president has not lost focus. And whether he sacks them or he keeps them, I believe he's intelligent enough and he knows what he's doing. So at the end of the day, we'll see how it plays. Equally, the two may not remain to their stand. Maybe they may do things differently. You never know. Okay. So it is still his prerogative to make a decision in his government on who he wants to be in the cabinet or who he wants to be in whatever.
But what would be your advice?
Whatever place. I won't advise. I won't qualify to advise on that. The reason why I don't want to do that is because it would be very sad, for example, if you would advise in a certain way and it's not done. You know, I'm not a legislator like them. They have a platform to discuss that even in Parliament. And I don't want to make unnecessary enmity with the people. But I've just told you, at times you can be given a rope to hang yourself. So if they don't do the right thing, then they should know they are hanging themselves, and the consequence is very clear.
All right. I have to take a quick break here. When we come back now, we focus on the cost of living and what are the possible immediate intervention measures that can be put in place, because this is what everybody is talking about. We are hurting now. What is being done and how do we get respite? That's a conversation we're having right after this break. All right. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. See you shortly.